Hello there, and welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you are joining me here today. Now, before we dive in, I'm going to briefly introduce myself, and then we'll jump into a quick, powerful episode on the importance of a launch debrief. Now, please stay with me. It is not as boring as it sounds, but sure is powerful either way, okay? And I say that because I know launches, by the time you get to the end, you're not thinking about a debrief, but we'll get there in a second. First, as I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream-chasing horse business owners like yourself to grow your business with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you also. All that I do is so that you, as an equine entrepreneur, can be out in the barn or the arena or behind the camera lens or in the round pen, wherever it is that you're serving the industry. I want to help you do more of that. So here on this podcast, you can always expect a mix of step-by-step strategies, essential how-tos, and entrepreneurial mindset shifts that will help you not only see what's possible for your business, but I'm also here to guide you through that process so you can make it happen. And today we're doing it by way of talking about the importance of a launch debrief. Now, actually, we're not just talking about the importance of it. I'm going to tell you the key things to include as you do that. Now, I do have 2 other episodes where we have talked specifically about launches. And when I say launch, to be clear, I'm talking about when you have a new program or offer, perhaps it's a new digital course or a workshop, or maybe it's an in-person clinic or a retreat, or you're filling spots for a program and you're in a launch series, okay? So a launch typically is a set period of time where you are if not opening and closing doors for enrollment for something, then at least you are providing typically a special price or something that provides that sense of urgency. And that's what I'm talking about when I say launch, okay? And so if you go back to episode 98, I will link to these in the show notes for today, by the way. So if you go to stormlily.com/199 for episode 199, or grab the show notes link where you're listening to this podcast, then you can get to these links, okay? But in episode 98, I shared 7 essentials for your next launch. And then episode 51, we talked about 4 keys to a successful brand launch, all right? But today we're talking about post-launch, okay? So what happens when you have finished a launch? Very often at the end of it, you're tired. Like, let's just name it. It takes a lot of energy, mental and emotional capacity to do a launch and to do it probably the way that you want to do it, which is well, right? And with excellence. It doesn't mean you have to drain yourself, but it is an extra level of energy. So you may want to just close the door on it and move on. But my encouragement to you is don't do that yet, okay? Because if you don't take at least 30 minutes to sit down and look at the information and learn from it, then your next launch is not going to be more successful or as likely. Obviously, I'm not going to make blanket statements. It is likely to either not be as successful or to not be smoother than this one was. Like, you're not going to learn from it. You know that from other things. So we want to learn as we go. And if we don't stop and look at these things and ask some key questions, then we're going to miss out on that learning opportunity. And I want that for you because I want you to experience that growth and I want it to feel good. Okay. Now, I'm sharing this at this time because I literally just closed the doors on my own launch. You all heard me talking about the Business Barn Collective over the past few weeks, and I cannot wait to dive in with our first session group in January. And for those of you that were asking me, Denise, are you going to open this again in 2026? The answer is 100% yes. I know some of you were saying, I'm not quite ready for that yet, or the timing for me doesn't work in January, but I still want to join. So please know that in the spring, I'm going to run another session. And so stay tuned for that and get on the wait list. If you go to stormlily.com/collective, then you can get on the wait list for that and you won't miss out on that opportunity. Okay. But the reason this idea for this episode came about was because I was working on my own debrief from this past launch. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you are 4 key things that I want you to do and include in your launch debrief. Okay. All right. Number 1. So, of course, as you know, by the way, these things will be on the show notes as highlights. So if you're not at a place where you can listen, save this episode, email it to yourself. I do that sometimes, just email myself to remember something. But hold on to this information and also know it's on my website at any time when you go to the show notes at stormlily.com/199. Okay, your first step, I want you to gather your stats. Okay, do not roll your eyes at me because here's why this is so important. When I meet with people and we are looking back and talking about, well, how did that launch go? The first thing that often comes out is a feeling, which feelings matter. And we're going to get to that. Okay. But they're saying it did or didn't go well based on how they feel. And the reality is when we're making decisions for our business, do our feelings matter? 100%. And we want to make discerning decisions. And so we need to have the data to be able to hold both your feelings and the real information, the real data at the same time. Okay, so I don't want your feelings to drive your conclusions about how the launch went. When you have the data, you can make a decision from a place of clarity instead. Okay. So, Denise, what data would that be? Here are some of the things that I would encourage you to include, okay? Clearly, you're going to put on this. And by the way, process-wise, this can all just go in a Google document or a Word document, however you like to work. It does not have to be complicated, okay? So first, you're going to gather your information and your stats. You're going to include your dates. What was your pre-launch phase? So the time leading up to opening the doors, opening enrollment, opening the cart. That's your pre-launch phase, okay? I want you to write down those dates because you may look at it and realize it was too long. You may look at it and realize it was too short, and that may be a learning opportunity. So write down the time you started talking about the program, but the doors weren't open yet, okay? That's what I would, for now, consider your pre-launch. And then what are the dates that it was open? So open enrollment or the special pricing, whatever that looked like. And then, of course, the date that it closed. If you had a conversion event, meaning you held a free workshop to get leads in the door before opening up cart, that would be considered an conversion event or a conversion event. Maybe you had a webinar, you had a masterclass, you had a challenge, whatever that was. I want you to grab the stats for that as well. Okay. How many signups did you have? How many people were attending live with you? How many people that signed up for your event actually purchased? And then I also want you to look at where those leads were coming from. When people got onto your email list or started following you on social media or signed up for your conversion event, where were they coming from? Was that because of referrals? Was it because of your organic content? Was it because of your ads? Was it because certain reels resonated really well? Where are those leads coming from for you? That is very important information. And I also want you to gather information about your emails. I'm hoping that if you're doing a launch, you are utilizing email marketing. So I want you to grab your emails. The great thing is what I do, because I use Kit, they have it where I can just easily take a screenshot. So I literally, for my Google document, I go in and I screenshot the emails and it shows me right there the dates they were sent, the subject line, the open rate, the click-through rate, those types of things. So grab that information. That's really good information for you to have and look at later. And then consider looking at your sales breakdown, meaning over that 6-day cart open period, 10-day cart open period, whatever that was, what days were sales actually coming in? This can be really enlightening. And personally, it's not something I've always done, but it can be really helpful. And I did it this time around. And I'm so glad that I did. When I went back and looked, I could see and point to a social media post or an email that was very likely to be the reason they went ahead and made that decision at that time. And then I want you to grab the information for your conversion event a little bit deeper in terms of, we did cover that, but I had another note here. So I'm looking, I just want to make sure we covered that apparently twice. Yeah, my notes are the same there. Okay, great. Do not miss that point. And here's why I'm glad it's on there twice, because what often happens is people will create an event like a workshop or a webinar or a challenge. And then when it comes time for the launch debrief, they go straight to the sales of the product or the digital offer or the event. and they skip looking at what worked well in terms of getting those leads in the door. So it is super, super important that you are getting those leads. And if you're not doing conversion events as a part of your launch, let this be a reminder that they can be a really, really good way to warm up your existing audience and bring in new people to your group, to your audience that would want to hear about your offer. Okay, so we're going to look at our data. And then secondly, we're going to ask for feedback. Now, this step, of course, is different depending on your setup. If you're a completely solopreneur, if you're working with a coach, or if you have a team. But I don't want to skip this because getting outside perspective from what you were putting out there and how you were selling can be invaluable. So if you have team members, schedule, a quick 30-minute debrief together to get feedback. If you don't have team members, but you have trusted business friends, invite them to tell you how they viewed your emails and your social media and the things you were putting out there publicly. Get some feedback from them. That can be really, really helpful because we don't want to operate completely in a silo. Okay, that can be super dangerous, frankly, because we only have so much information at our fingertips. So get some other information by asking other people what they saw, what they experienced, what it felt like to them. Okay. And of course, we're pairing that with the data. Their opinion is not the end all be all by any means, but their experience from your launch can be very helpful. Okay, so we're going to gather data and ask for feedback, and then we're going to sit and analyze those results. Now, again, remember, this can be a 30 to 60-minute power session. Now, I'll be honest, gathering that data may take you a little bit of time. Okay, once you've gathered the data, though, and you're looking at the data and you're analyzing results, now you have about 30, 60 minutes that's going to take to do this, okay? And it's going to really help you with your next launch. So now that you have this information, you're going to analyze the results and come to some conclusions, okay? So for example, did you meet your goals? Did you have goals? I hope you went into it with some idea of a goal that you were shooting for. So did you meet those goals? Did you have a goal for how many people you wanted in your conversion event? Did you have a goal for the amount of revenue that you wanted to make? Did you have a goal for attendance? Did you have a goal for conversions? So I'm not saying you need to have a goal for all of these things right out the gate. They can be very helpful, but I do want you to have some goals aligned with your vision and heart for your launch and then be able to review that, okay? What about trends? Did you notice any trends in your data? So, for example, if you're looking at open rates, what are you seeing? Now, click rates or social media, what felt aligned with this launch? What felt good to you? It felt really aligned with who you are, how you want to show up, what you want to sell. And maybe what didn't feel so aligned. Maybe you tried some new things, tried some new trends, and you're realizing that just didn't fit for you. Or vice versa, you tried some new things and you're like, actually, I think that could work really well. Let's shift it, change it, write down what felt good. And then again, we talked about before looking at where your leads came from. I don't want you to skip that step. Where did your leads come from for your conversion event? And where did your leads come from that actually purchased? So for example, it sometimes may be that you have a lot of people that sign up for your free workshop, for example. But then when you get down to it and you look to see who actually purchased, the people that purchased, they weren't even in the free workshop. They were actually already on your email list and have been listening to your podcast for a while, or on your YouTube or in your Patreon or different things like that. So pay attention to where your paid leads are coming from as well, not just who's signing up for free things. And we'll talk about actually what that information can tell you too, because I want you to be able to learn from these things as well. So as you see that, pay attention. We're learning from that. Okay. I talked about emails, so I do want you to look at your email open and click rates. Pay attention to subject lines that seemed to really get people to open more. And remember, that's their job. When you have an email subject line, the job is to get people to open. But I also want to remind you and encourage you in this, because sometimes with emails, you're going to notice that the open rate will go down gradually over time as you're sending these sales emails. And so I want to encourage you, though, to not stop just because you see that, because the people that are interested in buying are still going to open, okay? And I can tell you that with the Business Barn Collective, for example, half of the applications that came in and the deposits that came in were on that last day, and they were after I sent an email. And And yet I could tell you that if I look at my rates and I did see that opens were going down, and I'm not surprised by that because people are then filtering, right? If they're interested or not. Now, best practice, I would encourage you to do this. And I did this and had some people take advantage of it. Tell people, hey, if you don't want to hear about this special promotion I have going on, no problem. Click here and you won't get any of these emails, but you'll still get my weekly content or monthly newsletter or whatever it is that you send. Now, if you're asking me, Denise, how do you do that? I will tell you the simplest way that I've seen and it most in work. I think most platforms that I'm thinking of at top of mind, it will work this way. Okay. So you're going to have them click. When they click, you're going to apply a tag that in your system literally says opt out with your program name. Okay. And then when they click on that link, you are going to have a page, super simple page on your website that says, got it. I've updated preferences for you. Thanks so much for letting me know, and then if you want to high five that page and add some blogs or add some value to it, that's amazing. But the point is you're going, well, what do they click on? When they click, you're sending them to a thank you preferences confirmation type page on your website. And on the inside of your program, your email marketing program, it's going to tag them with what they need, with a tag that says opt out. And so what's going to happen is the next email that you send, when you have your email scheduled, you're going to exclude the people that have that tag. Okay. Every system I've been in has had this option. It just maybe looks a little bit different in how you create that segment, but you should be able to exclude the people that have that tag and keep them on your newsletter list. That's the goal. Okay. We want to give people the freedom to opt out of our promotional emails when we're in a launch and let them know that that's okay, because what we're doing is filtering it so that the people that are a right fit for that program are going to get those emails, okay? And so that removes some of that fear and terror that you may have of sending sales emails when you're in a launch season, okay? All right, so we're going to pay attention to those email results. That was a little side note, but an important piece when it comes to launching. And then I also do want you to write down how you felt about this launch, okay? That is an important piece because the reality is if you are launching a program that you're not excited about, your audience can feel it. If you are doing things just because or to make a bottom dollar or because it's the same thing you've always sold and you feel like you have to, your audience can tell, okay? So if this launch, everything doesn't have to be 100% exciting. There may be some things you do that are uncomfortable. There may be some things you do that you don't love, but it's part of being the business owner. It's part of putting on that CEO hat, okay? So there's that piece of it. But at the end of the day, you need to enjoy some of this process because you know it's connected to the heart of what you do in your business, okay? So write down how you're feeling about that launch. And then the next step, the fourth thing that you're going to do is a quick summary. And by looking at the data, by listening to other people, by analyzing your results, you're going to be able to answer these 4 questions, okay? Number 1, what will you repeat again? When you launch next time, what are the things you're going to repeat again? Number 2, what will you not do again? Okay. Number 3, what will you just shift? What will you do differently? And then number 4, what new ideas do you have? Very, very likely during a launch, you're going to think, oh, next time we should do this. This would be a great idea. Write those down. Okay. Because what I want you to do is have this in a document. And when you're ready to launch again, you're going to come back to this launch debrief and you're going to see your learnings. You're going to make the changes and it really is going to improve the launch for the next time. So write this down, save it in a Google Doc or a Word document, and then make sure you refer to it so that the new ideas you can implement. So the things you didn't want to do again, you don't do it again. Okay. That is the beauty of this and doing it when it's fresh on your mind. Okay, so you have 4 things that you're going to do in this brief debrief document. Okay, so I want you to, again, highlight or save this episode, save the show notes, because this is truly going to just be the framework for a debrief that can be really powerful for you as you review your launch process. And I want you to remember that this part is not just about the income. Okay, it's also about making sure that what you are creating is aligned with the heart you have for your business, the purpose you have for your business. Now, 100% is looking at revenue and expenses and making sure this is a profitable offer, a part of being a business owner and putting that CEO hat on. Absolutely. I want you to do that. And I want you to also make sure that it's aligned with the business that you have in your heart that you want to build. Okay? Those things are very important to remember. All right, friends, I hope this was so helpful to you. I'm so grateful for you. I know it's a little bit of an odd one to put the week right before Christmas, but I'm doing it this week. And so I thought, I'm not going to just do anything generic. We're going to do something that's actually practical and powerful that's going to set you up. So save this episode. Use it, utilize it. That's my hope and my heart for you as an equine business owner. I'm here to help you do those things. I told you in the beginning, my heart is to help you grow with clarity, confidence, and purpose. And doing a basic debrief like this when you have a launch is one of the ways you're going to do that. All right, friends, if it's been helpful to you, my one request is that you will share it with another business friend. Okay, if you know someone else in the equine industry that should be listening to this podcast, will you send them this episode? Invite them to join us. I have some really great guests lined up for the coming year that I cannot wait for you to meet. And I pray big, big blessings over you and your business. And I am so grateful you are joining me here today. Have an awesome day.